Good afternoon, everybody. It's April 1st, 2025. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those on Zoom, if you have any questions for Locke during the presentation, please just enter them in the chat window and I'll be sure to ask him for Locke. Also, this is a great opportunity to network with everybody else who's on the call today. So feel free to put in your contact information. Give us your name, your LinkedIn address, your email address. Give us a couple target companies that you have, because maybe we can help you out with somebody at one of those companies. So feel free to use the chat for that also. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I took off 2024 because I was under the weather, but I'm back to attending that meeting every Friday now. And I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of the session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team conducting interviews. And if you haven't done it, if you haven't had an interview, go sign up. Just go to Dallas Pit Crew for more information. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who rotate through on a monthly basis. They tell us the latest, greatest things, what's going on with LinkedIn from their perspective. Today, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's a retired career consultant, recruiting consultant, contact recruiter. He's been helping job seekers for many, many years. He's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies that gets results. So Locke, I'll turn it over to you. You're muted. Locke, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hopefully the gremlins aren't there. Have you shared your screen?
Yes, you should be able to share screen.
Okay. For some reason, it's not sharing.
Yep, I see it, but it's really narrow. Is it behind the chat window or something, or behind the pictures?
Okay, I'm going to do it a different way, Jeff.
The cursor was on it a second ago. There we go.
Okay, apologize for that, folks. That's who I am, but that's a brief bio of me. Been 42 years in recruiting before I retired in 2010. Starting back in 2001, I started working with those in job and career transition through an effort at our church. Continued for about 13 years before Mullen International out of New York, an outplacement firm, asked me if I'd been doing it for 10 years or 12 years as a volunteer, would I like to try it on contract for 90 days. That 90 days lasted for 4 years and 90 days. Mullen sold out to Lehigh Harrison. Everybody was laid off, and then Lehigh Harrison picked me up a month later for another 2 years of experience. And people ask, well, what have you done with all that? Why do you do this volunteer work? And I can only say because enough people like Jeff Morris and Gail Houston and Foster Williams helped me out as I was going through my different job searches. And I've been laid off at least 5 times in my career. One of them is kind of noteworthy. When I came to Texas, I've been with Rockwell International, their microelectronics division out in California, and was laid off. I knew it was coming. And I interviewed, not just resumes, interviewed with 19 companies. 16 of those said, no, we don't have an opening that matches right now, or you don't match our qualifications. 2 said, we're interested, we'll get back to you. And one of them here in Carrollton, Texas said, we like you, we're going to make you an offer. And they brought me to Texas. And that's how that happened. Unfortunately, about 9 months later, I was laid off again. But the California experience taught me a few things about job hunting. One of which is that the Lord is very faithful to me in those kind of times, because I was laid off, as I say, with 19 interviews and only 1 acceptance. And at the time, my wife was a homemaker with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And we sold our house in California in a week. I came to Texas on one weekend, looked at 36 houses before I bought a house in one weekend without my wife having seen it. So talk about miracles. My wife was willing to accept it at that as well. So that's kind of a little bit of my background as well. One of the things I mentioned is the Lord is very faithful to me during the years. And so I look at verses of scripture. This is one from one of my feeds on a daily basis. Blessed be the Lord, day after day, he bears our burdens and he helps us, from Psalms 28:19. Well, again, job hunting, our pastor at our church gave a sermon on relationships. Well, job hunting just happens to be one of those relationships. And part of that job hunting is showing up. Getting found on LinkedIn is part of what you're talking about, your profile. The other part is opening up. What have you done and how well have you done it and how well you talked about it on LinkedIn? Well, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So I guess one of the questions I ask people is, why are you using LinkedIn? Okay, LinkedIn is a tool that's available to you, but why are you using it? Are you using it for networking or for job hunting? And if you're using it for job hunting, how are you doing with that? So that's one of the things, because your goal is to get found by a hiring manager. So if you're not taking the right steps to get found, again, it's not much use going to LinkedIn. But again, LinkedIn is a worldwide network with about 1 billion users. About 180 million of those are in the United States. So it's a valuable tool, and is probably the #1 tool in the recruiter's toolbox, because there is a free version as well as some paid versions, some site versions, again, where since Microsoft bought it, they have LinkedIn Recruiter, which is $10,000 a seat, and LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, which is $5,000 a seat. I know people who use both of those. But again, most recruiters use the free version of LinkedIn, just like you. So that's part of what it is following. But LinkedIn, there's one comment from somebody who's used LinkedIn in job hunting. LinkedIn has been an irreplaceable tool in my job search. The ability to show employers exact experience and skills that I have on my profile is ultimately what got me the job. And I've had that similar contact with people that I've worked with. I know I worked with a young man right out of college. He ended up getting a job at Intuit. So it's that way that you can do those kind of things with it. Well, let's talk about that, what we're going to talk about today. And again, if you want the slide deck and it has more information than I'm going to cover today, just send me an email at lockealderson@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send it to you. We're going to talk about your profile, your headline and open to work sections, your dashboard and your about sections, and your professional work history, your skills and endorsements. Those are the major sections that recruiters optimize. How do you go about optimizing your profile? I want to talk about that. And then taking a look at recruiters and how they do searches and how you do searches. And then ultimately some homework for you. So does your LinkedIn profile attract hiring managers and recruiters' attention? Again, if you don't have a grabber headline, again, it's not going to get their attention. They're not going to click through. They're not going to read it. It's like resumes. You get 6 seconds, and if they aren't interested in 6 seconds, they'll go to the next one. And on LinkedIn, many responses are 200 and 300 responses on LinkedIn. So they can afford to go ahead and look at others. So first impressions are vitally important, and that's one of the things we want to talk about. But it all starts with your profile. This is a version of my profile, an older one. You notice that I've got a a background photo there. That's from a cruise that I made in the Caribbean, I guess a couple of years ago. I've got a good headshot of me. Again, your headshot doesn't have to be a formal one like that. It could be a selfie, but if it is a selfie, you notice on my picture, if you look in the corner of me, I wear glasses. I'm not wearing glasses in the headshot there. But if you do a selfie, make sure that you don't get a glare in your background. I notice I've got a sun glare from the lights above me here. A glare off your glasses and make it look like a professional photo. You don't want one where you're lifting a stein or enjoying a glass of wine. Those are not the best way to put your foot forward on the first impressions. Is your only if the headline is the only thing people see about you, what does it say? What are they going to care about? Does it address what the recruiters are interested in? But you notice mine there is about 120 characters. This area right here. Go back. And look at that, there's 120 characters. Well, LinkedIn has expanded that. You now have 220 characters. I still see headlines that are only 80 or 100 characters. You're shortchanging yourself there. I've noticed I've also got the open to work section open here. Only this is only open to recruiters. That's why, notice here, it doesn't have that banner from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, like the horses at the Derby where they got a garland of roses. The other things that you want to look at are one of the things that you notice on my profile. Again, I noticed in Jeff's profile, if you noticed when you first signed on this morning, he's got a background that has his telephone number on it. Again, getting in touch with you make it easy. Or if you have in your contact information, if we're not first or we're not second or third degree connections, we may not be able to contact one another. I may not be able to reach you. Well, what does it say about you? So what does your headline really say? Does your profile look like an old rusty car because of neglect? How long has it been since you've updated your profile? We had one seminar that I attended about a year ago. The guy asked, because it's kind of like produce and the dates that you have at the grocery store. If it has a best used date on it, like milk and some other things or meat, again, if it's after that date, you're probably not going to use it. Well, if it's been a while since your resume or your profile has been updated, it may not get looked at. Well, let's go to the next one. Okay, again, take another look at my profile. Notice that the same as there, I've got the open to work open this time, and that's why the banner from about 5 o'clock around to 9 o'clock is there. But notice the other thing that I'm doing right there. In using these and saying some of the jobs that I've listed, executive recruiter, recruiting consultant, career consultant, those are things, each of those are separated by a space, and then the pipe character, which is on the keyboard, on your keyboard is above it's a shift key above the enter key on most keyboards. But that allows you to be seen, again, those terms to be searchable. If you link consultant, pipe character, executive together, those are not searchable terms. So I can guarantee you won't get found for any of those. The open to work section, we'll want to talk about a little bit later too. Well, let's talk a little bit about completing your profile. Again, what is that all about? Your profile is one of those things that you want to have completed. To stay in all-star status, it used to be they had a pie chart on LinkedIn which showed you how you were, and you were all-star. I never got above 95%, and I think that was the max that you could get. But you want to complete each section of your profile to get the maximum rating. Because when you do that, you're rated in each of the categories, and as the algorithm searches each category, if you're at the top, you're likely to show up on the top of the recruiter search. So use a professional headshot and banner photo. Again, Canva is something that you can use. I know Jeff used Canva to create his background, which is kind of interesting because it piques your curiosity. The headline. If you don't put a headline in, it's going to default to the last job in your employment section there. So use the headline, the titles of the jobs that you're looking for. You can use multiple titles. I say with 220 characters, you can get at least 4 or 5 different titles that you're interested in. And again, there are different titles for your same profession. Recruiter is one title, talent associate, talent recruiter, another one for recruiting and HR, other things. Open to work section under your headline allows you to list an additional 5 titles. Complete your about section. I noticed in looking at Jeff's, and maybe I just couldn't see it today, he only had about 5 lines in his about section. But again, my about section has 2,000 characters in it. I know because I periodically try to revise it, and and it says you're over the character limit. Again, in your about section, you want to have your contact information on the first line. I know some other people say you can have it elsewhere, but on that first line of your about section, it's in the first lines that show up when somebody looks at your profile. Have your contact information. It may be your email or maybe your phone number or both. I just have my email because I'm not interested in a lot of telephone calls right now. But if you're job hunting, you want to make it easy for them to reach you. So put a contact. If you're cautious about listing your phone number, get a Google phone number. It'll screen the calls for you. Your experience section should have your job title and your duties that are there. But if you have an unusual job title, like member of technical staff 3, put the generally recognized title for that position in your parentheses. Okay, a description of your duties and the results. The results are important to convey significance to what you do. The keywords in for your profession. And if you don't know keywords, I'm going to show you how to do that. You want skills from your profession because recruiters typically will search on keywords and skills are the things that they look at. Likewise, education. All too often on profiles as well as resumes, I see education. That's when you got your first degree. If you have recent education like a master's degree or professional training or awards or certifications, you want to list those as well. And recommendations from coworkers and former bosses are important. So those are the things that are involved in your LinkedIn ranking. Again, another verse for scripture is for, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a future and a hope. Again, from Jeremiah 21:11. I need that hope. I need that encouragement as I've been in job hunting. Because it can be an up and down roller coaster where you're up one day, the interview went well. The next day, you get that reject letter and it's down in the dumps, down at the bottom. So again, moving right along, does your headline tell who you are? Does it identify what you do? And is it a grabber? Again, I remember it used to be in the women's magazines, they used to have an insert in there with a scratch on it for the perfumes, and you scratch it, and if the perfume was appealing, you might go to Macy's and try out that perfume. So those are some of the things to think about on your profile. Again, you want it to have people, the grabber is for somebody to look further, to click on see more when you do that. So let's take a look at some sample headlines. This is a whole screen full of them, and I'll touch on them briefly. Unemployed, retired, and seeking new opportunity are all probably truthful, but they don't put you in the most positive light. Unemployed, again, how long have you been employed? What's wrong with you? Are questions in the recruiter's mind. Retired, how long have you been retired? Well, I retired from active professional work at Oracle Corporation in 2010. So what have I been doing since that time? Formerly VP of Finance. Again, the question of how long have you been out of work as a VP of Finance? Experienced digital design engineer is more specific. It says that you're looking for work in that particular field. Likewise, in the social media strategist, they've had experience with digital and print media, public relations, marketing and corporate communications. Well, the supply chain procurement and purchasing is rather short and succinct, but again, it tells somebody that that's the areas of expertise they have. They may want to click through to look something else. Senior accountant. On any time, if I look for senior accountant in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there are probably about 30,000 accountants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So you want to add some more information if you can. GL, general ledger, AR, accounts receivable, AP, accounts payable, cost accounting, manufacturing accounting are all some things that might get people's attention. Executive assistant, only 35,000 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So more information like budgeting and event planning, supporting the C-suite at my company. IT project manager, again, is short and succinct one, but it has some of the buzzwords from the profession. ITIL, Scrum Master, and Agile. Again, things that IT recruiters look for. General manager, aerospace and manufacturing. Again, short and succinct, but a narrower field than the senior accountant or administrative assistant. One of the things I picked up along the way and looking at different LinkedIn presentations was how do you build your headline? Again, you can now personalize and you can make your headline have some adjectives and adverbs in it. Start with an adjective and use titles and what value you bring and some examples. Again, if you want the slide deck, Locke, Alderson at Gmail, this is in there. Okay, well, let's take a look at one of my headlines and my profiles. You can see that was a short one. It probably had about 80 characters in that. And if I take a look at that and tested that against headlines at sharethrough.com, that URL at the bottom, I got a 50% rating on initial impression. When I changed it and added some adverbs and added to it, there's about 210 characters there. It went up to about a 75% rating. So that's something that you could do to test your own profile when you want to take a look at it. Here are some other headlines that are specifically descriptive, okay? Accountant, senior accountant, increasing productivity in highly regulated industries like telecommunications or utilities. Okay, product manager, program manager, international business in the aerospace sector. Again, narrowing it down, saying specifically what you've done. Public relations or customer relations. Idle, again, adds able to explain high tech to customers. Very important, again, explaining software to customers. I know when I was at Oracle and Siebel, we valued those business analysts and project managers who could communicate with a customer, find out what their needs were, and then bring it back, as it says, able to bridge the gap between techies and management as a business analyst. Well, those are just some additional headlines. Here's some other ones, again, that are very focused. Again, this is probably on a particular industry in the medical care hospital area as a systems analyst. Global and somebody that's worked in Microsoft and social media with Amazon and Microsoft. Buzzwords that are mentioned. Product manager that's worked with gaming industry and worked with Apple and Microsoft. Again, buzzwords for that industry, getting people to look further at your profile. VP of Marketing and Financial Services. Okay, so those are some different headline ideas for you to take a look at and consider. Again, another verse from Scripture, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal. I know I like to have a rock and an anchor to help me during my days. Okay, why use the open to work and add that banner on you? Some people on your picture, on your key, headshot that you're there. Why do you want to use it? Some people consider that as a stigma that I'm out of work. Again, you want to let people know that you're out of work or that you're open to work, not out of work, that you're open to work. Again, it's not a stigma because of all that's happened in the last 5 years with COVID, with working at home and not working at home anymore, with layoffs that are occurring. I noticed there was a big layoff this morning. I wasn't able to take a look at it because we took time at it. But again, I listed a number of job titles there with some adjectives. I've also listed in my open to work section 5 additional job titles. Recruiters almost always filter searches by location. So open to work in a given area is something that's vitally important. I live in Plano, then 25 miles of Dallas. So again, I'm going to show up and search for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. As you start to fill in your open to work section, you have 5 choices for your job titles. Notice I put executive recruiter, professional recruiter, and I started with career to give you a drop-down menu. So artificial intelligence it's applied. You can choose from any on the list. If a title that you want to use is not on the list, again, LinkedIn's not going to allow you to use it, unfortunately. But again, workplace, where you want to work, offsite, hybrid, or remote. Again, well, a lot of companies are going back to on-site, but some are willing to work hybrid. I know when I was with Siebel Corporation, I went into the office every day. When I was with Oracle, I went into the office 6 times in 4 years. So hybrid types of jobs are still available. But again, if you're open to relocation or interested in another location, this is one place that you can put and it will identify that. And where are you in your job search? You're actively looking or you're just kicking tires? Okay, so something about your about the work section that I encourage you to do. There's also the section that you can open it up to recruiters on LinkedIn or for all LinkedIn members to see. Again, there's some advantage. If you're still in stealth mode and looking for a job, you might want to limit it to LinkedIn recruiters, and that's who it's going to show up with. Moving on to another section that you may have neglected is your homepage on your analytics page, if you will. You click on that, the analytics and tool shows some interesting things. How many times have you appeared in post impressions? How many times has your profile been looked at? How many followers and how many times have you appeared in search appearances? Which is the key if you're looking for a job, is that search appearances. So those analytics change almost on a weekly basis because it says prior week and prior 90 days, past 7 days. Another section of your profile that you may not be familiar with or may not have used fully is your features section. You can display samples of your work. On this section of my profile, I've got 7 different presentations that I've done. You can list your resume there, although I will offer a caveat about that. Your resume there tends to be listed in concrete unless you go in and change it periodically, like once a week, because that may not apply to the job that you're interested in. And sometimes when you apply for jobs, it pulls your resume off of your LinkedIn profile. But those are some areas that my son is a motion graphics designer. He's getting ready to design a motion graphics wall for a trade show coming up in Austin at the Fairmont Hotel. And it's going to be a wall of video displays where he has motion graphics displayed. So those are the kind of things. He has some of those examples in his reel, he calls it. He's able to show people about it, what he's doing. Moving on to your summary. Again, this violates one of the rules I have about summary. I know Terry Sullivan doesn't like this, have that as well. And that's to keep your summary 3 to 5 sentences and then to something else. I like this one because it's so well written. It uses bold and just regular typeface to show some highlights there. Again, it mentions his at the top, his contact information. Okay, you want to have that, make it easy for me to contact you. He's got some areas of specialization at the bottom. He spells out FP&A, financial planning and analysis. If you use an abbreviation like that, or spell it out the first time that you use it, because it'll be very helpful. Again, you remember you have 2,000 characters in your about section to play with. Tell people who you are and what you're capable of doing. But that's a fairly good description of somebody with a background in financial planning and analysis, having recruited those over the years. Here are some other sample resumes. And again, these use a slightly different tack. They're written in the first person, and there are some people that advocate that. Again, the first example there, I'm grateful partner to many world-class awarding companies that he's worked with, or she's worked with. It has some key competencies in terms of things they do: coaching, training and development, career transition, project management, recruiting, leadership, are all things that they've done. It's a way to say that in a short, succinct way. I would go and use more examples, specific examples for each of those, and we'll take a look at that. I'm a creative, strategic, hands-on marketer. If I were to see that on a resume, like a lot of recruiters, I might consider that fluff, because I don't know where it is or when it happened. Without concrete examples to support it, again, might be discounted completely. But let's take a look at my employment section. This is off of my resume. You want to have your job title, the company name and dates. You want to have your duties and responsibilities. Again, try to limit those duties and responsibilities to 3 to 5 lines. More than that, people may not read it. Again, I've used, I think, 3.5 lines there. The other thing that I've done with that is I've added a couple of bulleted accomplishments. Okay. And notice one of those things that I did, what had I done as a recruiter? I was a top recruiter twice, 2 different quarters, and the 4.25 years I was with Oracle. And again, at the end of that, I happened to include an email from my former boss's boss. Amanda Gill was the director of recruiting for Oracle North America. So those are some of the things that you can do. That Oracle logo that's there. If it's a major company, LinkedIn will pick up their logo and include it in your profile. Notice I highlight the accomplishments that are there. There are 2 of them that are there. They add credibility. So as a recruiter, I stood out as the top one among 50, twice. Again, was selected in the first year that I was with Oracle to go to the annual club meeting with a consulting organization, the organization that I happen to support. That's just some information of things that you can include in your profile. Again, other areas that you can add now, LinkedIn allows you, and there's a section when you go to your LinkedIn profile, allows you to add a section on the first screen when you show up. Again, I strongly suggest, if you are not working right now, add a position to show that you're out of work and job hunting. Again, you may not want to emphasize it that way, but that's what you want to do. Now you can also have a section for your volunteer experience. My volunteer experience happens to be included in my general profile simply because the volunteer experience section was not available when I wrote it. You can add one for projects that you've worked on. So let's take a look at one for your job hunting. This just happens to be one for a software developer. Again, he was looking for a full-time job. Okay, that's employment type. And the company, he doesn't list a company, he lists an industry. He might be looking at financial services or telecommunications, kinds of things, or electronics or computers. He starts to list a location. Again, that narrows it down a little bit because recruiters have found and been taught by you as an applicant, that most people don't want to commute more than 20 to 25 miles to work. Well, this is how you tell people that and how LinkedIn finds that for them. Again, I started to type DAL. Again, you need to type the real thing because there is a Dallas, Georgia and a Dallas, Oregon on the real menu that's there. So that's what you can do on a current position. Again, you don't put dates, you just put, I don't think there's a place for dates on that one, okay? Another one that you can add is for projects. As a recruiter for Oracle and Siebel, I used to get resumes for people who would work with consulting organizations. Those consulting organizations would have a page for each project that they'd worked on, going into a great deal what it was about. Well, you can include that now in your profile. It's not limited to that. So that's what you can do. I just happened to create one to show when I was with the Dallas-Fort Worth Staffing Management Association. I was the program director to find speakers. Again, the next section that's vitally important because it's one that they look at is for skills and endorsements. Again, LinkedIn, it used to be, I need to correct this. I have not caught all of those. And you can include up to 50 skills. Now it's up to 100, although the software that I've got from LinkedIn hasn't been updated to allow me to do 100. But it will show 2 or 3 skills that you have. And if you don't select those skills, LinkedIn's going to do it for you. But as you do the skills, you can see the different ones that are here. If you click on that, it'll add that, and you can have 29 more skills. At that point, I think I had about 31 or 21 skills listed on my profile when I took this cut. So let's take a look at that and how you organize your skills. Okay, one of the ways that you can find out what your skills are if you don't know it is to go to Career Explorer that you see there. The LinkedIn URL is up there, and you click on that. If you do that and want to skip to this thing, and you skip to the find new job with the skills you already have, and you go to that page, this is what it looks like. Okay, you can enter a job title, and they have about 120 different job titles. It's not a full one, but you go to LinkedIn at GitHub. At github.io/career-explorer, and it will list some of the other jobs where you might have jobs with that. The skills that are there, the different types of skills that you might have had. Experience with Salesforce.com, or again with Change Manager, project planning. Those are some of the skills that you can list, and it shows a rating of that 1 to 5 over here in terms of how you rate when you enter that in. Okay, so that's something that you can use, the Career Explorer. So your skills maximized for organized for maximum extent. What I was talking about skills, it will show 2 or 3 now for you. Okay, it shows 3 on this version because it has other words you can now apply the skills with that. So if those executive search, consulting, and talent acquisition were the ones that I wanted, that's fine. But I might not want to have consulting, even though I did a lot of recruiting consulting. Again, consulting is a broader term than that. I know when I was with Oracle, we only had 30,000 consultants that I recruited for. So that organization of consulting that I mentioned that I won for Club, that was an organization worldwide that had 30,000 people in it. So what you can do is click on those 3 bullets at the top, and it will list your skills again up there. And by taking your cursor over here to the right and clicking or click and hold the 4 lines that are there, you can drag and drop different ones to the top that you want. And periodically, you're going to want to go in and refresh it. I mentioned does your profile look like a rusty old car? One of the ways that you can do something about that is to refresh your profile on a regular basis. I suggest that you do it at least once a week. By reorganizing your skills, that counts as a refreshment. Again, like in resumes, it used to be the resumes when you send them by mail, the most recent resumes ended up on the top of the stack. That's the kind of thing that happens with the algorithm with LinkedIn as well. Okay, optimizing your profile by looking at other people. And you might ask, why would I want to even look at other people? Well, if you're not showing up when you enter Recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and do a search, and you don't show up among that 26,000 people that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, they have Recruiter in their profile. Again, you're not going to show up on a recruiter search. So try a search on yourself. What is your title that you look for? Okay, and look at that. If you don't, take a look and open up some of the profiles there, like Christina or Kaylee or Kelsey, and look at some of the words that they have in that. If those words apply to you include them in your profile. See if it doesn't improve your ranking. But that's how you can improve your ranking. This just happens to be when I clicked on one of those. Renee Lang as a recruiter in Dallas. Again, she has recruiters several places like that. Again, not very many, but again, she had enough in hers that she was one of the top screens. That top screen or first screen that you get when somebody does a search is 10 thumbnail sketches. And if a recruiter doesn't find somebody in the first 10 screens, that's 100 thumbnail sketches. You probably, if that's not you, they're probably not going to look for you unless they're looking for you specifically. So let's take a look at job hunting now for you. What does that mean for you? And take a look on searches. How does LinkedIn run a search? And how is it different from how recruiters do a search? Again, LinkedIn searches all the categories based on what somebody's entered in the search criteria. Well, let's take a look at that. Well, what do they really look for? Okay. Try and that helped a little bit. Each section of your profile and each activity, like your how many times you're on LinkedIn in a given week or a given day, count toward a score, and they add up on LinkedIn. Your ranking in searches is based on the sum of these values. The higher scores appear at the top of the list, results based on the qualifications being sought, those criteria that were entered. Well, let's take a look. Recruiters generally are looking for a match of job titles. And you have job titles in your current and past jobs, your headline, your open to work, your about section, your employment section. So there are a number of areas that you can have that. So you want to try and get your titles that you're looking for. The more times that it shows up, the more likely you're going to go to the top in that section. I know when I moved from Siebel to Oracle, Oracle acquired Siebel, we were looking for a Siebel consultant in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I ran a search in that area, had 75 responses. 50 of those responses didn't even have Siebel in the profile at all, in the resume. So those were immediately not candidates that I would want to look at. So that's just an example. That 25 candidates that did have Siebel, how many times did they use the word Siebel? If it was once, they may have used Siebel as a software product. If they used it 10 times, they might have been somebody who's actually installed Siebel as a software. And that was what I was actually looking for. Keywords and skills, again, those are the other things that recruiters look for. Those three are probably the crux of somebody's search. Industries and specific companies. Yes, there are industries that are specific, like healthcare. Generally doesn't look for candidates that have healthcare experience. Specific companies, and we'll take a look at a search in a minute that does that. Education and geographic location. What did I mention about 20 to 25 miles? Most jobs, recruiters don't. There are some jobs, like the recruiter or Oracle consultant I look for, they could be based almost anywhere in the United States because those people had to travel. And it was a question of how close they were to a major airport. Current and prior companies and length of service. Yes, your length of service, the job hoppers, that tends to be a negative, but in today's economy with COVID and with the other layoffs that have occurred, that's not as much a criteria that has a negative connotation. Then recruiters look at your summary and your experience. So those are some of the things that they actually look at when they look at your profile, why they look at it. Let's take a look at a profile. And this is the screen from Terry Sulla, not from Terry, from Kurt Vandemotter. He has the LinkedIn recruiter license. And this is a search screen. His actual search screen actually has 3 or 4 screens, and it has criteria that when he put in a criteria, he was looking for somebody. He had a chance to look at 710 million. Again, I mentioned it's over 1 billion now, people on LinkedIn nationwide. These are the criteria that he can look at: job title, location, skills and assessments, companies, schools, year of graduation, industries, and keywords. So he had 7 screens or 5 screens that he could work with. He could do 5 screens and enter check boxes. He could narrow that 710 million down to 70 within about 30 seconds. Okay. Let's take an actual look at our search results using LinkedIn Recruiter. This one was for a product manager. The title that they'd consider a senior project manager, somebody a little bit heavier. They were primarily looking in the Seattle area, okay? And so they would consider somebody from the San Francisco area, and we're looking for product management or product marketing. Those tend to be synonymous in some companies, but they wanted somebody who had done competitive analysis of products. And listen to that. And company searches, again, companies in the Seattle area, Microsoft, Amazon, and Fluke are up in that part of the country. And he also listed University of Washington down there, which is headquartered in Seattle. That particular search drew 6,900 responses and had 2,500 people that have a company or following that company and actually following that talent brand. So those are the people who are going to look for when they look at that, they'll start their search. They may refine their search with some other ways like you do when you look for jobs. The next search is in Chicago, looking for a project manager. I'm surprised it isn't more than 43,000 for that. But one of the things that's worth noting, employment was very tight when this was done. There were only 83 people that were open to new work or open to a change. Recruiters are going to take a look at that 83 to start because that's low-hanging fruit. They don't have to do a lot of work. Those are people actually interested if they meet some of the other criteria. Again, there were people from Chicago. They considered people from New York or San Francisco. They wanted business strategy and analytics. Again, people have business background, but they, as a project manager, but there are all kinds of project managers, administrative projects, software project manager, hardware systems are all different types of project managers. So they defined it or refined it a different way. Market entry and analytics, analysis, corporate development are some of the other criteria they listed. As well as that, looking for companies like Google, Facebook, Evermore, LinkedIn, or companies. He listed a company in the Chicago area, Northwestern. So that's something we actually looked at as a search result. We're searching for jobs. There are a couple of ways that you can do that. You can start with the search bar that's mentioned there, or you can go over to the Jobs tab. If you use the Jobs tab, it allows you to enter two things, a job title or a company, okay, or career interest, and it allows you to look for a location. If you haven't been searching or entered a location before, it's going to default to the United States. So it's going to show a lot of people, and you can enter a job title. So if you've been searching for a while and looking at the Dallas area, it's going to show Dallas as your default. Otherwise, it's going to default to the United States. So let's take a look at some actual searches. This is one for a sales rep in because they didn't enter something, it defaulted to the United States, and it resulted for almost 200,000 candidates as a result. The job here is spelled out over here so that you can take a look at it. And again, as a job hunter, again, that's not a very good search. It's not very precise unless you're willing to just look anywhere in the United States and spend a little bit of time looking through that 197,000 jobs that are listed. Again, the one thing about that, that's all the jobs that may have been listed on LinkedIn. So there's some refinements with the filters. And you notice some filters here that we'll start with on this bar. And we're going to take a look at some of those in just a minute. Okay, again, senior accountant, Plano, Texas. And the default setting on that is 25 miles. Again, because I specified Plano. Again, with that, the other thing that we specified, there are 144 candidates mentioned right there. So that's how you can do that as well. This one is for a quality assurance. I gave this presentation to the American Quality Association Dallas chapter 18 months ago. And I did it for quality assurance for a reason. Again, the search drew almost 2,000 responses. Okay, that's too big because most of the people were professionals, not inspectors or technicians. So we refined the search and added the word manager and narrowed the search down by 90%. And again, you can look at it that way. Okay, so that's past week was one of the filters that we talked about. Again, I'd strongly recommend, unless you're in an unusual profession, start with a past week and screen that, narrow the search down immeasurably. Because a lot of the jobs that are out there have already been filled. And unfortunately, recruiters, I won't say they get lazy, they tend to get overlooked the fact that they've got a filled job that's out there posted. So you might want to take it down. Okay, so that's one way to do it. This one was starting with an executive assistant. I started in Dallas. You notice the others that I mentioned to you. There's Dallas, Georgia. There's also a Dallas, Oregon that might show up on that list of locations. Okay, on the location. This is that list of filters. When you look at the filters now, it's only going to show up on the right a third of a screen on your page, but these are the filters that are there. I strongly recommend, as I mentioned, using past week number of filters because that filtered from over 2,000 down to 600. So it reduced it by about 2/3. Again, LinkedIn has picked up from Indeed.com a salary filter. Again, salary filters are not precise. However, certain states like California, New York, and Massachusetts are now requiring salary in their job postings. But again, it's a best guesstimate on that. Again, can narrow the search. If you're looking for a senior recruiter position, you're probably going to narrow it down to 100,000, which would narrow this down from 2,000 to 183. Again, you can narrow location. Another one I want to touch on is the easy apply. Notice that you can easy apply to it. Again, I do not recommend using easy apply unless it allows you to upload a current resume. If it does not, easy apply is simply going to take a copy of your profile and use that to apply. And your profile may not have been tailored to the job posting itself. Again, other searches that you can do or filters that you can use is by industry. Notice medical practice, hospital and healthcare, okay, are different ones. Adding company, you can do specific searches. Okay, HCA healthcare, look for a lot of people over the years. Okay, you look for local. If I lived in Plano, I may not be interested in Garland. Again, full-time, most positions on all of the job boards, including LinkedIn, are going to be full-time. But there are occasions where you might be looking for a contract. I mentioned that I've worked as a contract recruiter on several occasions, or part-time, for those people who are looking to go back to work or only interested in part-time. I have a friend who was only interested in part-time and he accepted a school bus driver for the city of Wiley. Internships apply. I know my granddaughter took an internship with Mercer, the Chicago insurance brokerage, last summer. She's in her junior year at Baylor this year. So a lot of internships are like that, jobs that are available. Temp positions are available as well. A number of different professions that have a lot of temporary positions. So those are just some of the filters that you can do. There's also a clear button up here. If what you've entered, the basic search is what you want to keep, you're getting too much or too little, you may want to clear and start over with just these basic terms. So something to consider on your searches. Again, LinkedIn has also made it easy by allowing you to do create a job alert. One of the things when you do for a recruiter in Plano within 25 miles, one of the options that you have is to create a job alert. So you can move the radio button to the right. It allows you two options, either daily or weekly notifications. They come in about between 7 and 8 in the morning. I still get notifications because as part of my career consulting work, I work with candidates to find jobs, showing them how to do it on LinkedIn. And I still get some of the job responses for that. I vacationed in Oregon last June and showed a friend up there how to search for healthcare kinds of positions in management. I still get some of those kind of positions listed for me, but you can do that. But that's how you can use that job alerts that are available. Again, wrapping up, we still have a few minutes. Again, you want to complete your profile, complete all the sections, and use the name that you normally use. Make it easy for the recruiter to contact you. My legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr. I've got a call Spectrum. We've just moved and make sure my name is correct on my billing because they've not used my legal name. They've used part of my legal name and not used all of it. So I have to go and do that. Again, very, very important to refresh your profile at least once a week. Go in and do something. I know when we talked about job boards, and I was talking about that in places like Briscoe Connect. What we will want to do is to go into your resume on a job board like Monster, add a period or take out a period. That will refresh your resume and cause it to go to the top of the stack in terms of activity. The headline or job title or titles of the positions you're looking for, not including a title, will default to the title of your last job in the employment section. Complete the open to work section. Use it to your advantage. It allows you to list 5 additional job titles and let recruiters know that you're open to opportunities. Do list your phone number and headline and your email address on the first line of your about section. In your experience section, not only the company name and job titles, your duties, but do list some of those measurable results. Remember the experience section, it's almost unlimited space that you have to play with. Again, you want to keep those short, no more than 2 lines for your accomplishments or your results, and do that. Keywords and skills, again, are important. And if people search on who you are. Jeff, I'm going to shut her down if I can and turn it back to you.
All right, well, I think you wanted to allow us to go on LinkedIn and go take a look. If anybody would like us to look at your profile, Just type your name in the text box, or you can unmute your mic, and we'll be glad that you look at your profile if you'd like. There is a copy of my profile, and you can see I have my phone number and my email address built in to my background page, so that anybody who wants to try to find me can find me very easily. All right, I see Jessica's name in here.
I've been working on it, but I wanted to get some validation or some constructive criticism.
All right. So you can see here it's great you have this, but you need to move your information over so it's not behind your picture.
That's the first suggestion. The other thing is complex sales and growth strategy. Again, I don't notice as many job titles in there as you want. You have a strategic account management, fundraiser, corporate development. Okay. If somebody were to ask who you are and you had to give it in 2 or 3 words, who are you?
You're asking me right now.
I am asking you that question. Who are you?
I
An
am,
author? You a salesperson?
yeah, I'm a salesperson. I'm an account director, and I help the Fortune 100 actually, solve complex
Okay. I'll
challenges.
give you something to think about. Strategic account management is truthful. But again, I may not search for account management. I may search for account manager. Just
Okay,
something
so
to
change
think about.
that. Okay.
That's something to think. That's
Okay.
right. Okay.
Yeah, you
Moving on
want
down.
these to be job titles down here. Yes.
Okay, I had a lot of job titles, and then I was on another call and they said, don't put all your job titles on there. So I took them all off. So
You can include those in your about and your
okay.
open to work section, and you have
Okay.
not opened your open to work section except to recruiters. You may have opened it to anybody else. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed, and I mentioned it, and Jeff and I differ a little bit about that. I ask people to include their phone number or their email address on the first line right there.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, and you have 7 lines there. I'd break that up into 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
Okay, you've listed a lot of skills and expertise.
Maybe I take those off because I have them in other places. No.
No, I'd leave them on there. I'd leave them on there.
Okay.
Okay, the more times that you talk about Siebel, like I did, the more important, the more likely are that you know about Siebel. So
Okay.
strategic account management. Okay. And what does
Okay.
that mean? How big an accounts have you managed? Have you managed large corporate accounts?
Like 9 billion plus is my last patch.
Okay. Okay. So mention some of the size, like, if you're an executive account management, firms over 5 million or 5 billion. Those are the kind of things that you have that account director.
Yeah, I just created that today.
Okay. Well, those are lean and mean. Okay.
Okay.
And I would put a little bit more flesh on the bones.
Okay.
Okay. Like you've got at Oracle guiding accounts. What were the results? Okay. And notice that the reason that I answered that, you just clicked on see more. So you want something that's going to entice somebody or encourage somebody to click on that see more. That's a good statement there.
Okay.
I might break that up and use a carriage return between so that it's not all on one list like that.
Okay.
Just play around with it. By playing around with it, you are refreshing your profile.
Okay.
You do it, change it one week and change it the next. Okay.
Okay.
You got a section for your volunteer experience. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Your skills. Okay. You've got 1 skill listed.
Well, it shows 64, but the problem is I don't know how to increase
Okay.
those. That
Okay.
was my question is, I mean, do
Okay.
I just ask a bunch of people to go in and just do it? Because I have a lot of recommendations that people just did for me.
Skills are not recommendations, okay? Skills, when you go into that and you can click on your profile and you click on skills, and there's the 3 dots that are on the skill section, in the right section, right over there.
Mhm.
And then it will show your different skills. By holding your cursor down on those 4 lines, you can drag and drop the skill you want to the top. E-learning development, I wouldn't consider you for a strategic
No,
sales.
I don't even know why that just came up.
Because
So
LinkedIn
HCM.
probably selected it for you.
Okay. All right.
You got a couple recommendations from this year, which is great.
Right? Okay, those are the suggestions we have for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's try somebody else, Jeff. We've got a few more minutes.
Other thing I would also change is you want to turn this feature off. You don't want to advertise other people you may know. Because
Okay.
these are other people like who could do what you're doing, so.
Recruiters would use that to build their candidate list of candidates to look at.
Okay, so how do I get rid of all that?
You just turn it
go-
off.
You
Just
go
turn
to
it off.
that and, let's see here.
It's in your me section in your profile.
Okay. Is it under like
Profile,
privacy?
Your privacy settings.
Settings and privacy,
Okay.
and let's see. Owl's feet, and
People-
sometimes they move it around, so you have to just click through everything and try to find it.
Okay.
Visibility. Yep, they've moved it again on me.
Okay,
Oh.
no worries. I'll just kind of click through it.
Yeah, I can go through and check.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, let's see here. We've got let's take it, Lori. Lori wants to take a look at hers. Oh, one other thing about your profile. We couldn't see your contact information because I'm not a first degree connection with you. Let's see. We'll take a look at Lori. Is this you, Lori?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Lori's open to work. Good background here. Let's see. We're not connected, but she has allowed her email address to show up. That's an option that you have to set up in your privacy settings to allow anyone to see your email and phone number. Most of the time, if you're not a first degree connection, you will not see that contact information.
Another place is Jeff had done it on his, he has it as banner shot. And as I say, I recommend including it down in your about section. Okay,
Yep.
got it at the bottom of the section, Laura, but you could also include it at the top, or you can move it to the top.
Okay, thank you.
But I like to be able to contact people, and I don't have to like to do a lot of searches or clicking to find people.
Yeah, recruiters want to pick up the phone and call you. They don't want to have to email you or anything else. If you can make it easy for them to call you, that's what you're going to do. So here it's showing that you've had two different jobs at HP because they're connected.
They're linked there on the side.
Yeah, they're linked on the side there.
Like at Cisco, you're also, though, two jobs that you had at Cisco are linked.
Mhm.
And if a company is acquired, like Oracle acquired Siebel, it's linked on mine that way.
Now you're using this project section, which is great because this is a way to take a job, a project that you've done and really talk about it. And we use lots of keywords and you can really talk a lot about it. And it's really
The
it's a
size
great
and scope,
way that most people don't use.
yeah, the size and scope of the projects is important as well. Now, the skills that you have are project and program management. Again, she has 100 skills that she's chosen, but those are the two that show up.
And a couple
Two
of
good.
recent recommendations, which is great. I think it's a good looking profile.
Good looking profile.
I like it.
Thank you.
All right, well, it's after 2 o'clock here, so let me stop sharing this and share just a few slides to get out of here. If you're interested in the deck from Locke, you can email lockealderson@gmail.com, and he will send you the deck with today's presentation that he showed. Next week, our speaker is going to be Ruth Lipsky. She's going to talk about back to basics, making LinkedIn work for you. Ruth works for Lee Heck Harrison. She works for job seekers on a daily basis. So she is talking about this kind of stuff every day. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 3 days a week. Every Tuesday, we do LinkedIn at 1 o'clock. Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting tomorrow. For those of you who live in Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can join them in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, they are online, so it won't be until the 30th. No, actually, the 23rd this month. The 23rd, they'll be on Zoom for anybody who wants to watch via Zoom. If you'd like to schedule an interview, just send your resume and a job description to dallaspiccrew@gmail.com. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, 9:30 in the morning, we will be meeting, and the topic this Friday is open forum. We will talk about whatever questions you have about your job search. If you want us to look at LinkedIn, if you want us to look at a bio, if you did your bio like we talked about last week, and you want us to take a look at it, that's what we'll do this Friday. It's just open forum. Whatever you'd like to talk about in your job search, we will talk about.
Jeff, let me ask a question for those who want to come to the Plano Focus Group or the Pit Crew live. They're upstairs at Christ United
Methodist Church.
Yeah, they're upstairs in room number
255.
255.
Yep. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. The nice thing about it is it's got over 15,600 members. We're close to 700 members. I think we're like 15 away. But the nice thing is you can connect directly with any of these people that are part of this group. So LinkedIn, I know, prevents you from connecting with some people if you're not directly connected. So here's a way you can connect with a lot of people who have been in job search. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. Give it about 3 or 4 hours, and it'll be up there later this afternoon. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist, and then go down where you see pick or whatever subject you want. And for LinkedIn, don't click on the video, because if you do, it'll just play the most recent video. But if you click on view full playlist, you can then scroll through and find the date, which it is in chronological order. The most recent one will be on top, and then you can go watch any one of those videos at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you want to join the Career USA mailing list, you can just scan this QR code and just send a blank email, or send a blank email to Career USA, the +subscribe@groups.io. We will send you an email with links for all the topics that we're talking about that particular week. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Locke is a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great Tuesday, and hopefully we'll see you later in the week. Locke, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff, for having me again.
I have a question for
Thank
Locke.
you.
Locke,
Yes.
my network I just left a while ago told me